What's up, friends? I've realized in my previous videos that I am sitting, and that is a common thing when I'm watching videos that a lot of people like to sit and talk, and I've noticed a little bit of back pain the past few weeks. So we are standing for this video as we dig into our next conversation. And I was really thinking the past few days on how we talked about starting at the beginning in our previous video on being radically honest on where we are at, the barriers to where we want to be, and that big picture of where do we want to be. Is that realistic? Is that sustainable? Is that the long-term lifestyle change? And I do use ChatGPT to analyze a lot of my thoughts and organize topics and whatnot. And I want to dig a little bit deeper into what are those common things. So I did ask ChatGPT about what is typically the top 5 common barriers for specifically women on why we are having a hard time creating that long-term lifestyle change. So, and number 1, we're going to be talking about today the all or nothing mindset. And I'm excited to talk about this because when I read this one, I thought to myself, that sounds like Michaela. Specifically in my work, I have a all or nothing mindset, guys. A little bit more, I wouldn't say OCD, but a little bit more of the perfectionist mindset to where it's got to be perfect or we're not doing it at all. And when we set ourselves up for our health and wellness journey, guys, yes, we should be convicted and strong in our mindset and, discipline and whatnot, and we should reach for big things. You are capable of big change, that big long-term lifestyle change. But when we start and go into our journey with that all or nothing mindset, that very quickly signs us up for failure. The motivation, the momentum, it's going to set us up for failure every single time. Why is that? Because the all or nothing mindset is, I have to fix every single thing, and every single thing has to be in place, and then I'll get it. And then I'll get what I want. And that's overwhelming, even just thinking about it, because it's your whole lifestyle, guys. It's your mindset, it's your nutrition, it's your exercise habits, it's your daily habits, such as getting steps in. Like me, my back's been hurting a little bit, and it's easy for me to sit and chat for 20 minutes, but standing here, it's totally different, looking at a camera and whatnot. And I do, this is a side note, but when people give long speeches and whatnot, especially women with heels, mad respect to you guys. But outside of that, I really just want to talk about that all or nothing mindset. And I do feel like women typically struggle with this a little bit more than men on the emotional side of things, whether you have stuff going on in your personal life and whatnot, on top of what you are currently trying to do and achieve. If you have kids in the picture, a family, extended family, relational things, friendships, work things, whatever that may look like for you. But I really just want to talk to you about the all or nothing mindset. And coming from me personally, guys, in my work, even outside of fitness and being a trainer and whatnot, I would go into my shift at my part-time job. It's more of the banquet serving space, getting things set up for big things like corporate events, weddings, etc. And when I would come in and I would see a list of things to do, the perfectionist in me is like, I want everything to be perfect. And then that's kind of where a scramble would show up in my mind. When it's rather, let's start with the first thing, prioritize that, make sure that that is done to the best of my ability, and then we would move on to the next thing. And we have to do that in our fitness lifestyle, guys, and your day-to-day habits. And that's why in my previous videos, I want you to be radically honest on where are you currently at. What are the big things keeping you back from and thinking, and that was the end of my last video, thinking on what are the top things that are keeping me from that? What are they? Is it leaning too much into drama? Is it scrolling on your phone for too long periods of time? Is it, a relationship issue, a time management issue? Is it you're just not taking the time to look up and be more knowledgeable on your nutrition? Is it you haven't signed up for a trainer, a coach, online challenge with a lot of education to learn more about a solid fitness routine that works for the typical person? Is it making a doctor's appointment with a dietitian to learn more about food? Because believe it or not, guys, it is not within my scope of practice to prescribe you a meal plan and tell you how many calories your body exactly needs. That's more up to a dietitian, and that's what they're there for. That's what they're getting paid for. And yes, it's going to be a little bit of a cost and whatnot up front, but that investment, that money, etc., is going to lead to that long-term lifestyle change. So I really want you to think again on, that was my dog, I do apologize. I really want you to think again on what are your top barriers for you personally. For me, thinking about that all or nothing mindset. Hold please. Okay, so back to the all or nothing mindset. I really wanted you to evaluate at the end of my last video, what are your biggest barriers? And that's going to help us kind of tear down the overwhelming, the scrambled egg process of all of these things that we like to make sure are perfect before we can do the dang thing. I like to say that, do the dang thing. And when we really start to break down those things and be radically honest on where we are currently at, that's going to help the building blocks to get us to where we want to go, guys. So for me, thinking about my work again, when I would walk into my shift, see the sheet of things, if it's a really busy night, all of the things that need to be done. And in my perfectionist mind, it's got to be perfect or it's not going to be done at all. And just seeing, and it takes practice and time, you know. It took me several months in my role there to really see what is the priority. Okay, we need to make sure that the table settings are out and that the things that for food service are prepped and ready to go. That's the number one priority. And learning over time to start with that, make sure that it looks as good as possible, up to the customers' specifications, my boss's specifications, making sure that's approved, and it's moving on to the next thing. So for you, it might be after evaluating your shortcomings and whatnot with fitness, it might be your nutrition, for example, to where it's, hey, Sunday's non-negotiable. We got the groceries, I got my protein, I got my potatoes, my whatever you like to eat, and that's my non-negotiable. On Sundays, we're meal prepping. I'm making sure that I have meals ready to go, ready to grab, so that I have my protein that's keeping me full. And it might just be your water. It might just be setting yourself up to where you're planning out your workouts, upper body, lower body, full body day, Pilates, walking, running, guys. There's so much that works for different people, that different people enjoy. But you have to start thinking about those things to understand what needs to be done. And we can't just sit back and think and keep getting overwhelmed, keep scrolling, keep putting things off and wondering why we're not making any progress months later, or come February after giving up after a month with all the New Year's resolutions and whatnot. So thinking about what is overwhelming you, why is it overwhelming you, and what can you do to stop that negative momentum of the snowball effect of, oh, well, it's just too much, so I'm going to give it up. Or I failed at this area, which is another part of that, is maybe something's not done perfectly one day. You didn't hit your water goal. You didn't eat enough protein. The holidays are coming. It was so busy. The kids are screaming and driving you nuts, and you didn't get your workouts in, whatever that may be. And then the all or nothing leads to the nothing aspect of, well, I didn't get this done, so I'm just going to give up. And I really want to encourage you, friends, that no matter what your situation may be, you're never going to be 100% perfect. I want to remind you that I'm not perfect. I shared last weekend about my son's birthday party, guys. Yes, it was a beautiful day. My son had a wonderful time, and that's what mattered that day. But I did not drink nearly enough water. I did not eat nearly enough food, meaning I did not get nearly enough protein in my system. And I didn't feel great that following evening and whatnot, but I understood, and my body was craving movement, was craving water when I got home. I ate vegetables when I got home from that. I did eat my protein. I've been eating a lot more chicken this week because that's what my body was wanting, guys, getting my fiber in. And it was, I set up for the party, and it, that perfectionism wanted to kick in and whatnot, but making sure that when I got home, I had water, protein, I fueled my body, I rested. That's what my body was asking for. And then the next day I was able to get back into the gym. That is called a solid foundation. And that is called me seeing and evaluating, looking ahead. Like, I know this is going to be a busy weekend. I know that I am not going to probably get nearly enough calories in me. My water's going to be off. So I'm going to analyze what I can do with what I have, resources that I have, and how I can get through that and come up on the top at the end of the day. You are not going to be perfect 24/7. You cannot go into every scenario with an all or nothing mindset, whether that's your work, your fitness routine, your relationships, etc. Stop being so hard on yourselves. But this is the hard part for people. We like to hear, don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing great, honey, which is all true and valid. But you have to be radically honest on why you are not where you want to be. And again, as I've said in my other videos, if you've made it this far, you are probably like most people to where you are evaluating, the new year's coming up, the holidays are coming up, I feel like I can improve in these areas, and I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about it, which a lot of women do. We get overwhelmed with trying to make sure that everybody else is also taken care of too, and not prioritizing ourselves and what our bodies are asking for. Is everybody's situation different? Absolutely. But is there something that every single one of us can do that is within our control? Absolutely. There are things that are within your controls, my friends. When you have that all or nothing mindset, there are things that you can control, but it's taking the time, the discipline, the knowledge, the experience to sit back. When I was at work and I got overwhelmed, sometimes I just would have to sit there and go and literally think for a minute or two. I've looked at worksheets and I have to sit there and evaluate. What is the most important thing? What can I do to make sure that this is as perfect as possible for my team, my boss, the client, and the establishment that I was working at the time? And I would sit there and I would think, because those few minutes of investment at the beginning of my shift, guys, they led to a successful during and end of my shift, to where the wedding was beautiful, the corporate event was smooth, their food was on time, on point, their coffee, etc. Was it perfect? Is any event perfect? No. But I had the confidence to know that I did the best that I could. And with the all or nothing mindset, I think that there are pros and cons to my personal way of thinking, because I also want to talk about the opposite of the all or nothing mindset, guys. Our country and our workforce has a problem of laziness. And you see this in the service industry a lot, but I also, obviously, as a personal trainer, seeing people who like, oh yeah, I have that end game, I see that model, and that's what I want, but I'm not willing to put in, between here and the finish line. They don't see and they don't want to do what's in the middle there. But also in the workforce, guys, whether it's if you're trying to climb the corporate ladder or get that promotion, etc., a lot of people are lazy and they are not willing to put in the work. They're also doing the bare minimum. It's not the all or nothing, it's nothing all the time. They're choosing nothing. And then they play victim. And I also want to give full transparency and accountability to that mindset as well, the victim mindset, which is probably my biggest pet peeve as a person. The Lord is working on that within me, to have a little bit more compassion, empathy, and big sister mindset when I've dealt with this. Because a lot of people weren't raised the same way that I was. And sometimes hearing, again, being radically honest and hearing you are never going to get to point B, whether that's corporate ladder, etc., your goals, if you continue doing the same things. It sounds so cliche and easy, but you will know nothing changes if nothing changes. So in the workforce and the victim mentality and giving the bare minimum, nothing's going to change if nothing changes. And that is where we have to set the example wherever we are at. And my motto is to be the hardest worker in the room, because I may not be the most efficient or the best, but you better believe that I'm going to strive to be the hardest worker in every room. If I'm at a meeting or if I'm meeting somebody new and I'm shaking your hand and I'm making that eye contact, because I value the person in front of me, their time. When I'm working a shift at my previous part-time job, you better believe I'm running my rear end off, and I'm making sure that the coffee is filled, the food is out, that everything is done to the best of my ability. And when I did make mistakes, and I did work in the corporate field, guys, to where I made big oopsies that took up a lot of time, made me really frustrated, made other people frustrated because it affected other people. Guess what? I never made the same mistake twice. Am I hard on myself? Absolutely. But I would rather have that mentality of being a little bit harder on myself and making sure things are done as efficiently and as great as possible than the opposite of the nothing mentality, the victim mentality. Because I'm able to look back at the all or nothing and really evaluate when mistakes were made, when things could have been done more efficiently. I have the mindset, the disciplined mindset to evaluate, I could have done better. And I think that's where the winner's mindset is, and that's what's gonna set me apart. And that's what can set you apart, my friend. Whoever's watching this, and if you made it this far, the mindset of I can do better and there's always more that I can do, it's gonna get you far. But let's really dig deep this week on the all or nothing, on how we can better organize our time, better organize our resources, our finances, our quality time with loved ones, the time that we spend scrolling and comparing and burning ourselves out at the end of the day and wondering why we're frustrated, we're exhausted all the time, why we have no motivation. It's because you're looking at things as all or nothing, and if it's not going to be done perfectly, and if I don't have all my ducks in the row, I'm just not going to start at all. And then we're going to repeat that in January when we have New Year's resolutions and everybody's signing up for the fitness challenges and everybody's signing up for their gym memberships and everybody's signing up for nutrition bundles, whatever, and all of those things are wonderful and needed. I want you to know that they are wonderful things. But what's going to set you apart, my friend, is you're going to be a few months ahead, because we're not just waiting till January. We're looking at this week. We're looking at today, tomorrow, next week, and we're making the long-term lifestyle change. We may strive for perfection and be all in and all or nothing sometimes, but we are diligently looking at those things, organizing our time, our mind. We're taking time for rest. We're taking time to seek mentorship and feedback from those around us. I love talking to my husband about these things. The psychology of it and whatnot, it's just fascinating to me, because I see so much potential in myself, my husband, my family members. I want to be everybody's biggest cheerleader, guys. But we have to be realistic as well, as to not everybody's built the same, but you better believe that God gave you your own purpose and your skills. And with the nothing mindset and the victim mindset, that breaks my heart when I see younger people raised with the mindset of just because you look like this or act like this or were raised like this, that you are at a disadvantage. At least in America, guys, there's so much possibility. And I tell my friends that I want to wrap up here with a highlight from my son's birthday party. One of my friends, that I had worked with in the past, he handed me a stack of business cards because I've been encouraging him to start his own business. And just the smile on his face, his wife was there, his daughter was there, and I have them inside, and my son was just tapping the name and stuff. And I said, yeah, you met that friend last weekend and whatnot, and he's also, you know, one of the hardest working people I know, and he's from another country. And just knowing that the possibilities are out there, and that's why that they came here in America. I'm not going to pretend to know everybody's circumstance, guys. I'm not going to, but I want to remind you, whether you have the all or nothing, just the nothing mindset, that here in this country, there's so much possibility. And I want to remind you that if you start looking inwardly and evaluating where you want to be, and you start taking those little baby steps, not the all or nothing, you don't have to fix everything at once. But when you start being radically honest on what is currently holding you back, and just starting with small momentum, that momentum is going to turn into the big change. I promise it will. You have to be patient. You have to be disciplined. You cannot lean on motivation, guys. You can't, because you're going to get yourself burnt out, and you're going to disappoint yourself, and you're going to want to give up. You're going to want to give up. But I see that in you. If you made it this far in this video, I see it in you to where you can improve on a few small things. And you can write out a list of the things that need to get done. But just starting with one or two, rather than looking at the big picture and overwhelming yourself and burning yourself out. So that's something I want to encourage you to do. I'm going to go do that right now as we speak, is to write out a few things that are currently holding me back and what I want to prioritize right now. For me right now, for accountability, it is working more on social media and working more on this face-to-face. I love this stuff, guys. I wish that I could get every single woman who's interested in a long-term lifestyle change in front of me in person and just talk for 2 hours, but that's just not the age that we live in currently. So I really appreciate your guys' time. We are going over the second biggest barrier to why women have a hard time starting and finishing a lifestyle change or fitness change. And I'm really excited to talk about that. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please subscribe, please like, please comment your thoughts. I would also love to hear a little bit more on common barriers that you may be struggling with when starting a fitness change. So have a great weekend, friends, and we'll see you next time.